it's interesting with even like duplexes. They seem to vary a lot market to market. It's like you get the mom and pop owners who have some smaller multifamily stuff in California, and you're still talking, they might be a sophisticated investor. They might have owned it for 20, 30 years. It might have a ton of equity, and it's a whole different ballgame. And in the Midwest, it might just kind of be your blue collar guy who bought a property and does everything himself and has no systems. And, so kind of understanding your market, I think, plays into that. Ultimately, the basics are fairly similar as far as analysis and everything else. It's just more the conversation, right? When you're talking actual multifamily properties, odds are, even with a mom and pop, the person that you're talking to actually understands investing. They are an investor. You're going to have potentially less access to seller financing options or, really creative low leverage opportunities. And so it's not the same, I guess, as going into like targeting a absentee homeowner with a tax lien that they're delinquent on that needs to move out. And it's like, that's a really easy conversation. Like, hey, dude, you're going to lose the house. Would you rather get paid or just lose the house? But with the more multifamily, I mean, it's just really a conversation of value. You got to figure out where they're at and go from there. But yeah, I'm kind of staying clear of the apartment world right now because a lot of, yeah, I mean, it's hard to make sense of interest rates being higher than cap rates. Yep. And a lot of multifamily investors are really hurting right now. So I think the time to buy that will be 2 or 3 years from now when bridge debt kind of times out. But I am, we're about to close on a 130 unit hotel right outside the Smoky Mountains. Let's see, we've got that. Still looking at, we might be writing an offer on a mobile home park right now. So I'm kind of trying to move into more unique kind of properties. So, a hotel, mobile home park, or self-storage, RV park, that kind of stuff. Because the last 3 of those, RV, mobile home, and storage, are all kind of recession resistant, right? Because they're a more affordable place to live for most people. Yeah. And the hotel is, I think, obviously not that way, but it was compressed in value a ton over the last few years. And so, if you find the right one, I think there's opportunity there.
Gotcha. And are you doing traditional financing on those, or are they a combination of kind of seller or traditional debt?
Yeah, originally we were going to assume the loan on the 130 and have a seller carry for the difference.
Yeah.
And that was going to be incredible. We were looking at like a 4x equity multiple over 10 years and just absolutely absurd. Like, returns good enough that we were watering the returns down before sending out the pro forma to investors because we were like, no one's going to believe this. But then the seller got cold feet on the carry. And then after that, the bank was like, well, we're not going to do an assumable, it just kind of fell out. So now we're looking at a bridge into a USDA. Financing has been a nightmare. Get more coffee. We've had every loan you can think of fall out on financing. And then it's just a really weird situation with the hospitality assets right now. Now the mobile homes, self-storage, RV park, raw land, like those worlds seem to still be pretty open to seller carries. And I think single families will be open to seller carries, wraps, sub 2 assumptions a lot right now because they want top dollar, but the market won't give it to them unless they're willing to work off the interest rate that they have locked in.
Yeah, I think those VA loans also are one of the few that you can assume also, right?
Yeah, you can assume a VA loan. It has to be your primary residence or intended to be your primary, but you can assume it even if you're not a veteran. The only downside to that is that the veteran will lose their entitlement until the property's paid off. So that's a bummer, but I mean, maybe not. If it's a 80-year-old veteran who's moving into a home, it doesn't matter. Or if it's somebody who, you live in Missouri and that's only $200,000 worth of entitlement and the next house they're buying is a $300,000 house, then it really doesn't matter. So
definitely. Yeah. Well, thanks for that.
Yep.
There's one last question. Is assumption and sub 2 different?
Yeah. Assumption is literally putting the mortgage in your name. So like if I was to assume Sean's mortgage, I would go to the bank and say, hey, you need to transfer this mortgage to me with the existing terms. And they would put it in my name and it would be mine. Sub 2 is same example, except I go to Sean and I'm like, hey, you're going to sign a power of attorney giving me access to the bank accounts to pay this note, and I'm going to make your mortgage payment. And if I don't, I default. you take the property back. And so the risk is still inherent there, where if I fail to make my payments, Sean gets the house back on the sub two, and or Sean has to deal with the bank. Whereas with the assumable loan, it's on me. At that point, I'm the guarantor. So in one situation, you're taking the guarantee, and in the other situation, Sean's still the guarantee. So it's much less risky for the investor to do sub two, but it's much less advantageous to the seller. Very similar though.
Yeah, that's true. Most mortgage companies won't
the,
let you assign.
definitely the benefit of the FHA or VA. Most outside of like occupying it yourself, yeah, you're kind of screwed.